courtroom. Prosecutors say they have just 30 minutes left in his cross. After that, the defense has signaled it is ready to rest its case today, meaning, not surprisingly, not likely Donald Trump will be taking the stand. But stand by to stand by. 12 New Yorkers will soon decide his fate on 34 criminal charges. CNN's Bryn Gingras is live outside court once more for us. Bryn, what were you learning before things start ramping back up?
Yeah, listen, we're hearing that, like you just said, Kate, we're not expecting the former president to take the stand today. We are expecting the defense to rest. And then we also know that for sure, closing arguments are not going to happen until next Tuesday. That's because the judge said with the fact that he has already given Friday off for jurors for the holiday vacation and then Monday off for the Memorial Day holiday, it's too much time in between them getting their instructions and closing arguments to then begin deliberating. So when they come back on Tuesday, they're going to hear those closing arguments and then they have an open runway to begin their deliberations in this trial. But yes, we still got a little bit more testimony to get to before we even get to that. That is of Robert Costello. The prosecution says they've got about, like you said, 30 minutes or so to ask more questions of him. Now, to refresh your memory who he is an attorney who advised Michael Cohen after Michael Cohen's home was raided by the FBI in 2018. And it got very heated on the stand. He didn't much like the fact that the judge was sustaining some objections with the questions that were being asked of him, so much so that he audibly said, ridiculous. He said, geez, he let out a sigh. He rolled his eyes. The judge then yesterday removed the jurors from the courtroom and essentially said to him, you don't say geez, you don't give me a side eye, and you don't roll your eyes. To which apparently Robert Costello gave the judge a long glare, and the judge did not like that very much. He cleared the courtroom of the press and everyone and essentially gave him very strong instructions that he will be removed from the witness stand and his testimony would be striked if that behavior continued. And so the defense attorneys, of course, had to say that it wouldn't, and then the rest of court went on without such events for the rest of the day yesterday. So we'll see how it starts off today. We expect, of course, this testimony to not take long, and then the defense will rest its case, and then we're waiting to hear from the judge about what's going to happen for the rest of really Thursday when court is expected to resume. Guys?
Bryn, thank you so much. Sir?
And joining us now to continue this conversation, CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Jennifer Rogers. I'm going to start where Bryn left off. I want the audience to see what the judge actually said after there was all this back and forth between him and the first defense witness, Robert Costello, who was a legal advisor to Cohen. Here is the exchange that sort of cleared the courtroom, and we'll pull this up. Judge Merchan says, look, he was very annoyed. He cleared the court. He says, I'm putting you on notice that your conduct is contemptuous. If you try to stare me down one more time, I will remove you from the stand. Costello responds, can I say something, please? Judge Merchan, no, this is not a conversation. What do you make of that? And the court is clear.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Judge Merchan is very even-keeled, so for him to get this bent out of shape, I think the behavior must have been really bad, right? We see what it is on the page, but for those people in the room, it must have been really contemptuous. That's obviously not an adjective that is used lightly. That's purposefully saying, I will hold you in contempt. Listen, Bob Costello had one job. His one job was to get on the stand and say, Michael Cohen told me that Donald Trump did nothing wrong. And now that is all mucked up in this really insolent behavior to the judge, his combative behavior with prosecutors. I think it's completely backfired because it really appears that Bob Costello has an axe to grind and he's there with a strong bias towards the defendant. So I think actually jurors are now more likely to say, well, I think what Michael Cohen said about this relationship, that he didn't trust Costello and he didn't tell Costello anything for that reason, is much more likely to be believed.
It was interesting because he did bring up this whole idea that as Michael Cohen was facing legal problems from the New York district, he said I told him, you can clear your name if you can just tell me what it is that Donald Trump has done. And Michael, he says, told him he didn't have anything. But because of this back and forth, and the jury is sitting there watching this eye rolling and the staring and this whole thing, the judge clearing the court, does it discount in their minds him? The jury's typically not like it when a witness is rude to a judge?
Well, they really don't like it, right? The judge is their authority figure, he's their protector, so they always look up to the judge. But they, of course, can separate what's kind of what they don't like from what they need to believe based on the testimony. The problem really is that Bob Costello seems to be heavily biased, right? He comes in, he very clearly doesn't like Cohen. He's testifying for Trump. I think he's testifying for Trump in a way, and I think the jury sees that. So they're like, well, who do we believe? Michael Cohen's explanation, which makes a lot of sense in the time frame that he's trying to get information out of Costello, right? What is the Trump world doing? What do you know about? What can you tell me about my case? That's what Michael Cohen wants to know, and he's not going to give up any information. Remember, he doesn't pay Costello. He never signs an agreement with Costello. This whole time, I think it's very believable that he's trying to get information and not give information, and that's why he told Costello he doesn't have anything on Trump.
I'm curious, just now that the prosecution is done with its case and closing arguments will be coming at some point in time, did they prove their case from what you have seen, and now you're seeing the defense witness come on the stand?
I think they did. I mean, I think that Michael Cohen took enough hits, and legitimately so, that there could be a juror or two who's going to say, you know, I can't credit him. But they proved every element of the offense, right, if you believe Michael Cohen. And there is circumstantial evidence, even if you don't, that Trump knew about the repayments scheme, given all of what they've shown. He's a penny pincher, he knows everything going in and out,
David
all of
Pecker on the
that.
stand too, talking about why this was...
Exactly. So I think that you certainly, I'll put it this way, if there's a conviction, it will not be overturned on appeal for insufficient evidence. They have enough evidence to prove their case. The issue is, of course, when the jurors get in the room and start arguing about the credibility of Michael Cohen, some may say that they don't credit him, and without that direct evidence, might not be willing to convict.
You only need one for a hung jury, right? And so that is the sort of burden of proof. They have to go beyond that and convince them all. Jennifer Rogers, you're great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.